secular and spiritual diagnosis. In the same way that the sexually liberated have taken over the definition of gender, the New Age approach to mental health has provided a pantheon of different mental health diagnoses. At the end of the day, there is schizophrenia, and this is related to perceptions in regard to the mind and the associated distress. And there are mood conditions which are related to feelings of great joy and/or lamentation, which also can result in distress. They say these things exist in a person on a spectrum, but trying to divide the spectrum into categories, like the sexual liberationist divides genders into categories, does not explain the experience of someone whose perceptions of reality are disordered or a person who is dealing with a distressful environment and/or trauma. As no one has time, whether it's a mother or a sibling or a partner, to adequately understand and remember and record the ongoing expression of these conditions, it can only be left to the healing grace of Jesus, through the ministry of a religious person, with adequate respect and true regard to the temporal truth of the condition. The problem with the person with the mood disorder is that he seeks sedation or stimulation when he is in a certain state, and he can do this through alcohol and coffee. A problem with a schizophrenic is that they have used or still use psychedelic, stimulant, or hallucinogenic drugs which create and exacerbate the problems with perceptions. All people have heightened states, and someone who suffers from a mood disorder has a different heightened state than someone that suffers from a disorder of perception. With the malicious or erroneous suggestions of people they respect or the assumptions of things that they have learnt that are not true, a person can have delusional beliefs, and these can become exacerbated when that person is in a heightened state. Under the professional, who drives gender politics and diagnoses 72 genders, ensures inadequate treatment of distress and creates subcultures. He treats conditions with prescription drugs, and the subsequent subcultures are drawn into the use of recreational drugs. Conditions such as personality disorders are an outlier in the 450 diagnoses of mental illnesses, as none of them are able to be medicated for in any effective way. The medical fraternity does two things: 1, it identifies a condition; 2, it medicates that condition. But personality disorders, concurrent with other disorders which may present on different parts of the mental health spectrum, are beyond the scope of the medical fraternity or secular therapy, as they are essentially spiritual issues and are acute situations, which is usually generational, by which the professional fears to engage with the complete story of a family. Jesus says the greatest love is to give your life for your friends, but a modern clinical relationship is cold and loveless. Spiritual issues are also perpetuated by a satanic popular culture of consumption and ignorance, which a Christian can save himself from through submitting to Jesus, rather than a temporary financial relationship with a professional. A new type of professional is required who recognizes spiritual truth and wisdom. The profession of psychology is in opposition to the Christian faith, and by me attempting to write my private spiritual truth, I found it necessary to approach many psychologists with my work. I was maliciously attacked by many of these people for expressing my innermost truths, and now I am able to declare that the psychologist ultimately threatens fear and punishment in a fallen and gaslit environment, instead of the Christian who eternally offers love and mercy in an environment of wisdom, knowledge and understanding. Which is the distinction between the satanic approach to humanity over the righteous approach to humanity. The monotheistic approach to life embraces what we believe is true and what we cannot accept, and this is a journey of faith and doubt. Towards submission to a true and loving God, a God that can only be denied by a person who believes the universe and life arrived from nothingness. And through the monotheistic approach you are given the freedom to examine all the written truth to make your own personal and informed conclusions. But by following psychoanalytical and sociological idols as well as godlike political and economic idols, and not being able to doubt or challenge their coercions, we are driven away from investigating the origins and considerations of these confused ideologies, and we are not given any direction other than a social melee which is driven by money and fear. And the sins of the flesh are experienced and promoted as expressions of the human condition.